But we have to open with the devastating Duke loss over the weekend at the Final Four. Duke in total control of Houston and just blows it down the stretch in unforgettable fashion. One of those games where you just left scratching your head. I'm at a bar with some dads watching it, and I could tell things were not trending well, even though Duke was up 14 with like 8 minutes left. They got Cooper Flagg, the best freshman on the planet. And yes, I will be glazing Cooper Flagg later, despite all the hate we're seeing online. I asked for the check from the bartender. I was like, I got to get out of here. This does not look good. And folks, Houston shocks Duke, and I mean stuns them. And it shouldn't be that much of a surprise to some of us, because like all college basketball season, what have we talked about? It's the veteran teams using the transfer portal to bring 22, 23, 24-year-olds onto the court, and those are the teams that have thrived, but not Duke. Duke rode 3 freshmen in the starting lineup all the way to the Final Four, and their youth showed, folks, on Saturday night. Now, Fox Sports asked me to do a mock draft, and I did one, and I had 3 Duke freshmen in the top 20. They've got a great team. But what did we see win Saturday night? The veterans, the cagey Houston veterans. They lean on 23-year-old LJ Cryer, who had just an unbelievable 6-point play during that comeback. Who did they lean on? A 23-year-old Roberts, who hits 2 clutch free throws. And the Duke youth showed. Folks, I'm sure you've seen the numbers of the meltdown. It was, oh my gosh, we're up 9 with 3 minutes left. We're good. Cooper Flagg hit that 3 from the baseline, and I'm going crazy. Jay's like, we're going to the title game. And then it just fell apart. The youth showed, look, they can't inbound the basketball. Folks, you guys remember the greatest singular play of the NCAA tournament so far was Houston-Purdue, 2.8 seconds left. And Kelvin Sampson, the veteran older coach, dials up an amazing play. They get the dunk, and Houston prevails over Purdue. Fast forward to the Final Four Saturday night. Young coach John Shire, and we'll get to John Shire in a moment, because if you want to blame anybody, you can blame him. He couldn't inbound the basketball. It was painful to watch. Anybody who's coached basketball at any level or played basketball, inbounds, hey, you got some stuff dialed up. Even now they're going with the football play where you just have 4 players running down the court. Duke had nothing. It was painful to watch. Here's Kelvin Sampson, the great Houston coach, talking about culture and veterans in the victory.
There's something to be said about having a culture that's based on how you win. There's some nights when the ball goes in and teams don't have defensive players like Duke does, or don't have defensive players like this team does or that team does. But our team is they think they're going to win every game they play. Irregardless of what other people think or say, they think they're going to win.
Yeah, listen, Kelvin Sampson with a master class down the stretch, never quitting. Now, I do, listen, you never want to crush anybody when they're young, and John Shire, a.k.a. White Mike, yes, that was his nickname in high school because he was in Chicago, and he was honestly getting buckets like Michael Jordan. Shire just had a brutal season, and our staff dug up an incredible stat I had not seen all weekend until this morning. So in close games this season, Duke was 1-3. Close games are 5 points or less. They were 1-3. Folks, Duke lost 4 games all season. So in the close games, they kind of sort of melted. Now, some of that is due to 3 freshmen in the starting lineup. I watch college basketball all season, unlike some people, and I remember in November, they gave it to Flagg down the stretch. Now, I think at the time he was still technically 17, and Flagg kind of struggled against Kansas, couldn't get the bucket, and they lose. But since John Shire took over in 2022, in games 5 points or less, John Shire just 11-12. Now, I know what you're going to say. Jay, you crushed Lamar Jackson. Well, why can't you crush John Shire? And listen, if you want to blame somebody, you got to blame Shire. And I don't want to nitpick, but Sion James, number 14 on Duke, good player. He hit his head on the hardwood. It looked brutal. He goes down, and you're like, oh, that guy's definitely concussed. You got to get him out. He barely sits out. And what happens a couple minutes later? Dribbling baseline, dribbles it off his leg out of bounds, turnover. And then Shire had him inbounding the ball, and he looked so rattled, like he didn't know what to do. And it was just like, Shire, some situational awareness, please. Now, I know there's a segment of Houston fans out there upset that I have not really talked about the Cougars. I've been focusing on Duke, and that's because Duke lost the game. Houston didn't win it. That's really what happened. And we'll get to Houston because they play Florida tonight. A little preface, I'm on Florida. I like the Gators tonight. It's going to be a great game. Houston, obviously a tough team, but folks, when you take down Duke, and then you got to go play 2 nights later, you've just slayed the dragon. I think there will be a little bit of a letdown. And I'll kind of close out on this note because I know that people want, Jason, you got a bag on Cooper Flagg. Why is he fading away like Anthony Davis? Let me just remind you guys. Coach K had R.J. Barrett and Zion Williamson. Okay, 2 top 5 picks just a few years ago. And they lose in the Elite Eight to Michigan State. Okay, so it happens. These young guys struggle in March. Barrett and Zion were freshmen. Cooper Flagg, Knipple. By the way, where was Knipple in the second half? They were young. They vanished. Congrats to Houston.